Here's an interesting idea about using your Johnny.Decimal system to look back at the thing it's organizing, because Johnny.Decimal is this highly structured system where you end up with these IDs, which nest under categories and areas, see previous videos, for your life or your small business or job or whatever. And those IDs and categories really describe the structure of the thing itself. When I was at work and I used to build these structures for my job, I could have practically used them as a position description, because if there's a thing in this system neatly organized by categories and then areas, that really are the core job functions. They reflect the structure of the business. And so what you can do, one of the unexpected advantages that we realized after we built some of these systems like Life Admin or the small business system, was that you can use it to look back at the business, to reflect on the things that you might need to get or use or organize better. For me, this really helps in, frankly, some of the stuff I find quite tedious with my business. I've never enjoyed doing the financial stuff. It's just not something I'm good at. But using this method, I can guide myself and I can make sure that I don't neglect parts of my business. So here's how I do that. Because almost every system of productivity, which this one is broadly, has this notion of a review cycle. You don't just never look at a thing because it might not feel important. You might just not like doing it, like your finances, but you've got it for some reason. And you don't want to get into this situation where you just neglect it, obviously bad with finances, or that when you go to use a thing, that it's just not there, or it's broken, or it's old, or outdated, or whatever. So here's a really simple trick using your Johnny.Decimal system to make sure this never happens. So first, let's talk about tasks, things to do. It just so happened that the Life Admin and small business systems, after we developed them, have most of their most of their areas contain 5 categories. And that was just a happy accident. There are also 5 days in the week. And this is a very natural mapping we found, where what I do on a Monday is I review, in both my life and small business, I review all of the categories that end with the number 1. And on a Tuesday, I review the categories that end with a 2. And this very naturally spreads things out through the week. It gives you a very nice cadence and a predictability, because now I know finance is 13. Now I know finance is going to come around on a Wednesday. And so while I might still not enjoy doing that, at least I know it's coming, and it gives me a reality about my system that makes it harder just to ignore stuff. It also means you are very rarely surprised by things. I haven't been surprised, as in like, geez, what is this thing? I haven't been surprised by it to do in about a year. I've been using this system now. So it gives you a real comfortable awareness, is the phrase I'm using. It gives you a real comfortable awareness of your entire system. I'm not saying it helps you do everything. Of course, it doesn't help you do it all. It's impossible to do it all. But it just makes you aware of everything. I'll show you how to do all that if you're interested in our 4-hour task and project management course, part of JDU. There'll be a link below. So what's interesting is you can also use this looking back into the system thing from the perspective of your files and data, because let's look at the first ID in both Life Admin and small business systems, which is the registration of that thing. So for you, that is 11.11 birth certificates and proof of name. And for the business, it's 11.11 structure and registrations, i.e. your company's official certificate of registration. So these are 2 documents that you hardly ever need. But when you need them, you really need them. And what's useful then is to use your system, use this Johnny.Decimal system as a nudge, as a guide. And the trick is very simple. You just go through each ID one by one, starting at the first one, in order. And you ask yourself for every one of those things. Is it a thing that I need? Because it might not be. Life Admin is full of stuff that I don't have and use, so just skip them, that's fine. But if it is something you need, is it something you've got? Is it something you can lay your hands on? Do I actually have my birth certificate? Do I have my company's certificate of registration in the folder neatly labelled? If you do, great. If you don't, sort that out before you move on. Because if you did one of these IDs a week, which is really not an onerous schedule, that's 50 odd things a year, I think in a year you'd be tremendously organised. And don't forget, the point of this is not to be organised for organised sake. It's to reduce stress and to make your life simpler in the long run. Because I do realise that my life's work, this Johnny.Decimal thing, I've chosen to help people organise their files, and that for many people is not necessarily something fun. A lot of people just love this and nerd out on being organised, but a lot of people don't. And I mean, I honestly don't. I don't enjoy organising my files. I just understand that as a grown adult, I need to sometimes. And I'm really aware of this fact. So here's another way to look at it. Think of it like this. Being organized doesn't just help you. It helps you tremendously. But let's think about a situation where you get hit by that metaphorical bus, or you're on holiday and you have an accident and someone back at home needs to access your files. Or in a business perspective, you might decide to sell the business, or you might get audited, right? That's the worst case scenario. And all of a sudden, this becomes really important, because what's the last thing you want to do when you get audited is to be scrabbling around trying to find this stuff. That's the stressful time, and that's not the time to be trying to do this. So what I'm saying here is that you can just slowly, gradually use these IDs, plod through them, no stress, plod through them, look at each one, decide what you need there, tidy up, move on to the next one. And this time next year, you'll be really organized.